On this episode of the Star Trek Universe podcast, we are talking about Discovery 210, The Red Angel. Right after this.
Welcome to the Star Trek Universe podcast. My name is Matthew Carroll.
I'm David C. Robertson.
Hey, Dave. How you doing, buddy?
Oh, I'm all right, man. How are you?
I'm good. I don't know if these birds are being picked up on the microphone or not, but there is a loud chirping bird behind me, and I don't know what to do about that.
There is, man, but it's a new day. And I guess that's what we're going to be conveying to the listener if they can hear the birds.
Yeah. Let us know. Let us know in the comments. Can you hear the bird?
Do they make you feel good?
Sounds like a weird psychological test we're doing on people.
It
Can
does.
you hear the bird? And the people that can't hear the bird are like going to get really paranoid that something's wrong with them. Okay, let's hear that summary, my bro.
The CBS All Access summary. Burnham is stunned when she learns her ties to Section 31 run deeper than she ever fathomed. Armed with the identity of the Red Angel, the USS Discovery goes to work on its most critical mission to date.
Nice. I liked this episode to a point. Then I hated it. And that got hard to get over.
Well, okay. Why did you hate it?
I just thought their plan to catch Burnham was utterly stupid.
I wondered how future Burnham wouldn't remember any of that.
Exactly. And so, like, it's one thing for what Spock did works. Like, he held a gun, basically, metaphorically held a gun to Burnham's head and actually pulled the trigger. But what they were planning to do was just a lot of pain for no purpose. Because if Spock hadn't intervened and not allowed them to wake her, or resuscitate her, then there's no reason the Red Angel would come back. Now, in the end, it turned out it was not Burnham, which I also have a problem with.
Because it was her bioneural signature?
Yeah. Like, I get, okay, they could have said something like, we have a 70% DNA match or something like that. Like, we only have a fragment of the DNA and it looks like it's Burnham or something like that. But they were like, not only were they like this, they were like, there's no way to fake this. This is definitely her. They had like a scientific person, like they had a biologist confirm it and a technologist confirm it. Like, this is not possible that this is fake. This is Burnham.
And I suspect, I hope they don't try to go like, well, their signature is similar because they're mother and daughter. I actually hope that what is going to happen is at a future date now, Burnham will be the Red Angel, and we'll go back and do some of the stuff that they were cataloging.
Right, like maybe she has been the Red Angel at some points.
Yeah, like
I thought about that.
I've seen people who theorize that it was her parents that.
Yeah, halfway through this episode,
it might still be her dad at some point. It might still be her at some point.
It crossed my mind after they introduced that it was her parents that created the suit. I was like, what if it's not her? It's her mother. And I was like, nope, that's not possible because they said it was her neural signature.
Yeah, I don't think you can share that with someone else, even if it is family.
Right. Yeah, it doesn't make sense that it's shared bioneural signature.
But also that bioneural signature is probably just, sci-fi horseshit.
Sure. No, it absolutely is. But if you give me a sci-fi horseshit and you say it's a sure thing, then you can't immediately break that rule. Now,
and they might still do that.
Right.
They might still say, make it where it was her.
Another idea is the Red Angel could have been tricking them or like producing a bioneural signature that pretended to be her, but then that would still, like, if she wanted them to pull this kind of shenanigans to, like, bring her back, like, why didn't she just come visit?
Right.
Unless, one thing I thought is, like, I don't know how this time travel works, but they talked about it working like a rubber band where she goes back and then it snaps her back to the future. I wonder if if this type of time travel technology even works in reverse. Like, can she even go to the future?
I don't know, but it also, the way you just described it made it seem like she would have to get them to set a trap so she could stay there.
That's possible. That's possible. Yeah, all of that is possible. So we don't know. We don't know. But the bioneural signature thing bothered me, and just generally that no one brought up. If it's Burnham and we're trying to trap her and she's involved, won't she remember trying to be trapped? Like, that should have been a conversation.
Well, unless you're going by the alternate reality theory, which is what Kurtzman was going by certainly in 2009 Star Trek. So,
sure.
You know, if it's not necessarily really her, is like slightly to the left Burnham.
Right. Sure. Which means this Red Angel and this version of Control from the future, which I didn't realize they completely figured out last episode, but I guess they did.
Yeah, they did.
So I guess these two versions of they're fighting for a future, but they're really just fighting to create a future for themselves. Mm-hmm. Like the Red Angel seems to be fighting for a future where Burnham exists, which that was another big plot hole for me. Like, we know 2 times she saved Burnham's life. Like,
right.
That's true. But we know of at least 2 other events the Red Angel intervened in. And one of them seemed to have nothing to do with Burnham.
Right. Which may have been Burnham. Possibly.
Oh, it would be cool if we get a end of the season, Burnham hops in the suit and she goes around and we actually see some of these events from the other side and why they happened the way they did. I love that kind of storytelling.
Yeah. I think it would be interesting if Michael was never supposed to exist, or was not supposed to exist for very long. Like, I think
she was supposed to die in the forge.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or who knows? Maybe she was supposed to die even before that, and her mom has been going back and intervening at an earlier. Maybe she was supposed to die with the Klingons, and maybe it was an alternate version of her mom who protected her and threw her in the closet. Maybe she was supposed to die in the forge, and then she was supposed to die. I can't remember the other times at this point. On that planet, we saw the asteroid we saw earlier this season.
Yeah.
Are there any other times where she was supposed to die that we know that the Red Angel intervened?
Well, on this freaking Class Y planet here,
sure.
Demon planet or whatever.
yeah, that's real weird.
They didn't say it was a demon planet, but that's the thing from previous Star Trek.
Yeah, I know. I really wish they had have made a few more. They had so many lines that they were throwing around, and I wish a few of them had explained why the big holes in their logic.
Yeah.
Now, Spock's logic was clear. Spock knew the truth, which is, no, we have to actually let her die. We have to be willing to let her die. And I loved that moment for Spock. Mm-hmm. That was super badass and fun. And painful. And just like cold and logical, and I loved it.
Mm-hmm. And Sonequa Martin Green like killed her death scene, dude. Like, she did such a good job.
Yeah, it was intense for sure.
It's like, once you remember that she's reacting to imaginary atmosphere, you're like, oh, wow, she's really good.
Yeah, that was great.
And her reaction to the fact that it was her mom was really, I don't know, touching in a way, I guess.
Yeah.
She did a really good job with that.
Liked a lot. They started this episode with a incredibly emotionally manipulative text across the screen. Data deleted.
Yeah, and the Arium autopsy and memory deletion for me was just a bit much. It felt like a bridge too far. Like, I felt like a ghoul watching that shit. Like, you didn't need to show me that.
Interesting.
Any other character dies, you don't show me them scooping out their brain.
Yeah, I guess that is pretty creepy. I guess it's because she's mechanical. They felt okay with it, but the mechanical nature didn't look very mechanical. She looked like she had a brain.
Yeah, she had a real brain.
Yeah, at least partially. I don't know did she have a real brain? I think it was replaced. and she was like downloaded into, because that's like she kept having to erase her own memories and stuff because she didn't have enough space, which I find funny.
It's why we don't keep 100% of our memories.
Right. Well, it's
just be overwhelming.
That's an interesting concept, having to delete your own memories. I really wish they had played with that in another episode.
That would have been really dope. I would have liked that.
They could have had a great episode about her like choosing to forget something, like almost like a Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind episode, where she chooses to forget something painful.
Oh, I was thinking about Job taking his forget-me-nots. Or forget-me-nails, or whatever it was.
Coming at that idea from a completely different perspective.
Yeah, Arrested Development.
Yeah, an Eternal Sunshine.
Keeps roofying himself.
It's really good. During the funeral scene, and they have this intense conversation or whatever, and then they do a cut from the funeral to her to Burnham in a meeting, but they lined up the screen so that her face was in the same part of the frame, and it was really moving, honestly, because it like signified her moving out of the funeral but not really leaving, like she's still there, there mentally. I really liked that cut a lot.
That was a good cut. I have seen some people say that this episode was kind of an exposition dump and was kind of a slow-moving episode. I liked it, though. I liked that aspect of it, but I always do.
Yeah, I like exposition. I don't like when exposition makes no sense, though, and that really bothered me. Because I'm
just talking about the direction, the pacing of the show.
Yeah. No, if you're going to give me an exposition episode, it needs to be like tightly written, and this was. I feel like this episode was just sloppy as hell. Like, just the 3 or 4 major plot holes that in all my headcanon magic, I can't come up with a reason they make sense.
That has been that's been kind of an ongoing theme, even more so than the faith versus science theme of the season.
That's funny. Let's see. They actually addressed a few of our problems, or they addressed a few of our things that we've talked about on the show, which I thought was funny. The knocking is pointless. These doors pretty much just open themselves.
Yes.
Open themselves when you get near them. I loved that. It's just hanging a lantern for us on this thing that happens on the show. Like, we've been talking about, why are they not locks, or don't you have to chime in? Nope, everything opens.
Yep.
Totally called Burnham being the Red Angel, which she wasn't, at least not yet.
At least not yet.
But when it happened, I was like, man, called that shit.
Yeah.
Another thing they did that addressed something we had an issue with, I thought they addressed it in a really funny way, though, was him visiting the Admiral as a therapist.
Yes.
I kind of hated it, because it's like you said, why isn't there a therapist on the ship?
Well, there wasn't a therapist on the ship that we knew about in the original series, I don't think. I don't remember them talking about a ship's counselor.
Right.
I do remember McCoy saying that he was a psychiatrist or a psychologist or something like that. But
right, it makes sense that he can take care of the well-being of their mind as well as their body. Like, that's fine. But I just thought this was a really fun solution for, he needs a therapist. I don't know if they've ever mentioned her being a therapist before this, but I thought it was a weird thing to like shoehorn in if not.
Yeah.
Like, we need a therapist. Make the Admiral a therapist, too.
I am going to go back and point out that there was a continuity error in the original series, because Bones was a psychologist or something, they said at one point, and then at a different point, he said, I'm a surgeon, not a psychologist, or psychiatrist. So, I think it was psychiatrist.
That's so funny. It's that shit is lazy. It's just lazy not to track your own like dialogue through someone that's paying attention.
Well, if he's a psychologist, he doesn't have to be a psychiatrist.
Sure. Maybe it was two different things. So maybe it's not. Maybe it's not a. But still, someone could respond, "Yeah, but you're a psychologist." Like, come on, McCoy. Also, Is it just me, or is the term time crystal really dumb?
It comes from magic to make the sanest man go mad. I think it comes from a previous
I was going to
episode
say,
of Discovery.
is that what he was using? Was it just called a time crystal?
Yep, it was called a time crystal, and it was Harry Mudd, which I know it sounds stupid, but if there was such a lame term as a time crystal, I would accept it from Harry Mudd.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
I feel like that episode, it fit the vibe, but when you're talking about like what you need to build the weapon that's going to like, I don't know. It somehow, I know it's all in the same canon and everything, but it feels, it just felt a little cheap.
I understand. I feel that, but I also feel like, you know, the kitschy way they describe things in the original series sometimes.
Sure.
It feels like that. It feels like the original series, so I give it a pass in a lot of ways just because I'm like, time crystal, that's fun.
Yeah.
And I think it's perfectly acceptable for like a layperson to call it, or like not a scientist to call it a time crystal as opposed to some kind of technobabble crap that Geordie would call it.
Sure.
Which was one of my issues with the 24th century stuff, is just like everything was some like really long drawn out technobabble thing.
Yeah, I could have seen them doing like, it actually would have been a nice callback. They could have said something like, the suit required a Shamkama crystal or whatever, like commonly known as a time crystal. And then Pike could be, I like that, time crystal.
Or a tachyon variance crystal,
right,
you know.
something like
that.
But
you know what? In the marketplace on Kronos, they're not going to be calling it that. They're going to need something a little catchier, like a time crystal.
Right. Sure. And like, are time crystals that common? I realize Harry Mudd had one, but it's like, that seems like really pretty insane technology. Or are they naturally occurring? Time crystal, the existence of a time crystal, you know, it worked for Harry Mudd. It made for a really fun episode, but like the existence of a time crystal seems to like almost break the universe. Like that's a technology that would be just insanely useful.
I don't think it breaks the universe any more than, you know, them just being able to fly around the sun. But, Leland did say, I think that didn't he say that he bought it on the black market in Kronos? So just like Harry Mudd did. So I'm not really worried about it.
Right. No, I'm not saying it's like a thing that makes no sense. It just is, it's kind of weird.
Speaking of that though, and maybe it does break the universe, but the universe has been broken for a really long time.
Right. Well, and that's the thing. When I look back at the original series and there's things that break the universe or things that like, oh, that makes no sense in the canon, or that's a little bit weird, it's like kind of cute because they didn't know what they were building. But it's like, you know what you're building now. Like, put a little thought into some things, you know?
Yeah, I mean, when you look back remember the episode of Voyager where they went back to the 90s? There's a whole bit in there where because that dude came back from the 29th century to the 20th century, Janeway and Chakotay figure out that basically the technology boom of the 90s, like 90s computers, happened because of this dude from the 29th century.
Yes. Yeah.
And that it was all that we were never supposed to be that technologically advanced in the late 20th century. I don't know. Like, I feel like all of that stuff is like laced throughout Star Trek. Like, there are constant like time disruptions.
Sure, absolutely. Well, and that doesn't break the universe though. That's like it means that always happened or whatever.
Not necessarily.
And it looks like they're going with that. I don't know. You talked about them going with different theories of time travel. Listening to the trailer for next week, Spock says something about time. I think it was Spock says something about time is fixed. Mm-hmm. Time is fixed. It's always moving forward or whatever. Like as if they're going to go for the more 12 Monkeys style time travel.
That's interesting because I didn't see that. I didn't look at the promo for next week. But one thing that I really noted was that Leland explained that her parents were studying how leaps in technology had been instigated by time travel. Like, Did you catch that?
Yeah, absolutely.
They were working on a theory that sudden technological leaps across certain cultures, including those on Earth, weren't happenstance but a result of time travel. To me, that just sounds like a bludgeoning over my head. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just like, oh, are you doing something with canon here?
Interesting.
What?
I don't know. To me, I'm still in 12 Monkeys land, which those of you who don't know, we're talking about two different versions of time travel. Some of you obviously know this, but in a lot of things like Back to the Future, when you change something in the past, you create a new timeline, whereas in 12 Monkeys, spoiler alert, it turns out every time travel event that happens always happened in the timeline. So it's one of the more cohesive versions of time travel in my mind.
Except that version of time travel creates ontological paradoxes that can't be reconciled, which is what a paradox is. But
I don't agree. I think they are completely reconciled. If it happens that way, it always happened that way. The grandfather paradox only is a problem if there is an original timeline where it never happened. If there's always if time is not linear, if time is always moving back on itself and creating these events, then that the effect can come before the cause if it always did.
It just bothers me, like a guy's older version of himself comes back in time, gives himself instructions for how to build a time machine. He builds a time machine, goes back in time, gives himself the instructions for how to build a time machine. Where the hell did the instructions come from in the first place?
Right.
That bugs
I would
me.
say
I can't deal with it.
That's a paradox.
Yeah, it is and that's what we're talking about with 12 Monkeys,
No, it's not. In 12 Monkeys, it happened. You can't go back and once you've gone back and changed it once, that's the only time you can do it. I would say that given the 12 Monkeys view of time travel, you can't go back to an early version of yourself and make a change, then go back again and make a change again. In 12 Monkeys, it's beautifully written. Here's the problem with that type of time travel. In storytelling, it's really hard to tell an ongoing story where that is the case. It's very, very difficult. You pretty much have to create alternate timelines for time travel storytelling. 12 Monkeys is beautiful because it is one movie, and it's just a snapshot of how that time travel works. And it's the reveal of the movie, again, spoiler alert, is that that's how the time travel works. The whole time he thinks he can change something and he goes for it and it doesn't work. And then you realize that he didn't change anything, but he still made a difference because of his actions or whatever.
Yeah.
I love that movie, but I'm not arguing that we should be using that type of time travel in this scenario, because when you're telling an ongoing story, it's very difficult. Because once you know that that's how time travel works, it's kind of like predestination versus free will in religion. Once you know, there are certain sects of religion that believe that all things are predestined. So they do nothing to change things. They literally think that their actions mean nothing because God has preordained everything to happen the way it is supposed to. So our actions, like no matter what we do, whatever we were supposed to do, it's what we could do. Like that's all that can happen. So it's all that will happen. And so we all sit on a couch instead of doing anything for our fellow man. So it's very much the same way. And if you know that the theory of time travel is this is the only universe, it is time may fold back on itself, but it's always going to resolve itself, then there's no reason to take action,
Yeah.
Unless you know it's the action you're supposed to take. It's weird. It's weird. It's hard for storytelling. The 12 Monkeys time thing is very limited in its storytelling potential, I think.
Yeah.
Another issue I had, I'm sorry to bring up all issues, I really am, because I just really hate when things are kind of shoddily written. Why does Tilly bring up Project Daedalus? It really, really annoys me. They're in a meeting.
Why does it bother you? They found the file in Ariam's mind.
Yeah, but Burnham knew about Project Daedalus hours before, presumably, before the autopsy. It seems like this meeting they're having a meeting about what they should do next. They talk around a bunch of things, and then Tilly walks in the room and brings up Project Daedalus, and says she found it in the mine, and then Burnham goes, "Oh, right. That's the last thing she said to me." It would be like, it seems like that's your next lead. Like, we left the last episode going, that's the next lead. That's what they need to see.
It's true.
I thought I guess you could say she's in shock because she just lost her friend or whatever.
Maybe, in any show other than Star Trek, I would have said, like, oh, well, that's just a random phrase that had no context. Except, this is Star Trek where everyone has to report things.
Yeah. So. You would think as soon as she came back, she'd be like, we need to find out what Project Daedalus is. Like, that'd be the first thing, Arium died telling me that we need to look into Project Daedalus. We need to look into Project Daedalus. Instead, they went through a whole thing with the autopsy and the funeral even. And then they were like, all right, now let's deal with this pressing matter of time travel war that's happening around us. Anybody got any ideas?
It does seem like they would have put off the autopsy / funeral until after the threat of ending all sentient life was over.
Yeah, I think the funeral, maybe. I do think it made sense for them to have the autopsy because part of the autopsy was to delete her core because they were trying to get rid of all trace of the future control. So that made sense. But yeah, the funeral, having the funeral before talking about Project Daedalus is just like silly. It's real silly.
Yeah.
It was purely for the sake of having a dramatic beginning to the episode, and making me cry by showing me pictures of Arium and saying files deleted or whatever.
It didn't make me cry. If anything,
it was emotional.
The more people who talked over Arium's body,
if you guys have
the more I felt like they had done me a disservice by not letting me know her.
Yeah, same here. It was even worse. I said at the beginning they started it with the super emotionally manipulative scene, which is all it is. I feel like if you had taught me who Arium was, like, give me affection for a character by teaching me who they are earlier on, and don't just pump up someone's character so you can kill them so that we have a problem, so that we have to experience an emotion. It bothers me.
Oh, you know what bothered me? When Leland explained that he had led the Klingons to Michael's parents, and she punches him and goes, "That's for my mother," and then punches him again, "That's for my father." Like, that's so hackneyed and overused. I'm so tired of seeing that.
Yeah, it kind of was. I get that.
Like, she did a good job acting it.
Yeah.
She did a good job with what she had. And so did he.
I feel like the writing on this show has gotten worse. And I know a lot of people had a problem with the writing last season or whatever, but I didn't really. And I feel like these last few episodes have been like just big holes. Just holes you could drive trucks through.
Yeah, I feel like we are having the opposite reaction of every other Star Trek fan. Like, everyone's like, it finally feels like Star Trek. And I'm like, yeah, that's what a lot of people are saying. And I'm going, yeah, but it's shoddy.
It may feel like Star Trek, but it's not being written like a good show. And that's the problem for me. Like, I honestly don't care if it feels like Star Trek. I care that it has certain elements of Star Trek. Like, I care about the canon of Star Trek. I do care somewhat about it feeling somewhat optimistic about the future. There are certain things I want Star Trek to have, but like it doesn't have to feel the same. Like, I don't know.
I don't necessarily have to have some starry-eyed captain staring into the mid-distance pontificating about, Shakespeare and or hope.
What do you mean? I want Pike to stick around.
I don't. I like him. I like Pike a lot. I don't want him around. I don't want him hanging around.
I like him so much.
He needs to go away.
Yeah, you're probably right. I thought it was funny when they revealed that Burnham was the Red Angel. This is totally just a meta read of it, but I thought Georgiou looked offended. Like she looked offended, like, hey, if anyone's going to have that much power, it's going to be me.
Yeah, that's interesting.
She kind of crosses the room like, what? Burnham? And I think it was her crossing the room going, my daughter, the lady I feel like is kind of my daughter still, is going to be in a very dangerous place. That she's going to be the Red Angel, but it just looked from a meta perspective like, because that's one of the other theories that's been bounced around. So I thought it was funny when they said it was Burnham and Giorgio looked offended.
Yeah, dude. Michelle Yeoh kind of kicked out of the park in this episode. I felt like she does a great job of being really subtle with her actions when Burnham was about to go and be killed, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked her turn a lot there.
I liked her too. Her love for Burnham is the one redeeming quality she has currently.
Even though they keep trying to convince me otherwise. Yeah.
Right. Like, her one sort of save the cat thing is the fact that she actually does care for Burnham. Like, it seems like it's a genuine care, genuine love.
Yeah. And, every time they're like, oh, look at her grow as a person. I'm like, she's genocidal maniac who eats Kelpians.
Yeah, she's been eating sentient beings. It's really a bad situation. Do you want to dive into quotes?
Sure. Yeah.
Why not? I think you mentioned Giorgio killing it this episode, and I think that almost all my quotes are from Giorgio.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wait, did you have anything about Control Jabin O'Leland in the eye there?
Oh, crap, no. I kind of forgot. I didn't take a note on it, and I kind of forgot. Yeah, that was a big deal.
Yeah. Is he dead?
I don't know. It definitely seemed like it hit him pretty good. And that was gross.
Yeah, and we had Control, like, using his voice to address the crew and stuff later. So.
Oh, was it? I didn't catch that.
So I'm wondering if Leland's just gone now.
I feel like it would have been a better death, but I guess he has done all of his. He has fulfilled his plot obligations. He told Burnham about it. Her parents. Giorgio has proven herself as his second, and so it's very possible they'll put her in control of Section 31 or like that ship. So, leading to a Section 31 show. So, yeah, I don't know. Maybe. I kind of hope not. I like Leland.
Yeah, I mean, he's all right.
I wouldn't mind Leland being just the rest of the season, like the voice of Control. Like, if they had him on screen being like a sentient version of Control, trying to, impersonating Leland to try to talk to them or whatever.
Yeah.
Could be fun. Also, that means Control. Wait, was it Control on his ship?
Yeah. Okay. They were talking about how they didn't think that the virus or whatever had gotten out anywhere else. And, looks like it did. But that would be fine. I'd be down with Leland's being the voice of Control. Just as long as we get some sort of line in there about number one being the voice of the Starfleet computers.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
For obvious reasons.
Yeah. No, yeah, that'd be awesome. I would love that. Let's see. My quotes. I got, you may be smarter than the Stamets I know. You're also far more neurotic. Have you considered medication?
That was good.
I like that.
I like the little interchange. You do know he's gay, right? And then she goes, don't be so binary.
In my universe, he was pansexual. In this universe, and any universe that I can imagine, I'm gay.
Oh, yeah, that's obvious.
That was real good. I really liked it. And she talks about getting with him and you. And she said, we had DEF CON levels of fun together.
And she calls him Poppy.
Poppy? Did you just call me Poppy?
Yeah, that was great.
That was all really good. Really good and really, I don't know. That didn't feel like Star Trek at all, but I loved it.
Yeah, I was all right with that.
I really liked her line. I prefer a little totalitarian efficiency, but that's just me.
Mm-hmm. That was
really
fun.
Good.
I liked Cornwell's words to Culber. The only way to make a new road is to walk it.
Oh yeah, that's That's a big therapy thing. Like you're trying to get out of your head and realize that you can't control things beyond what you can control, and you just have to do. You have to do and create a path for yourself.
Absolutely. I like Giorgio saying, so we're going to the ninth circle of hell to capture a red angel. I would enjoy the irony of that if it weren't so dangerous.
Yeah, I like that too. I really love Spock's line. That supposition fits her emotional profile rather precisely.
Yes.
I didn't write the next line down exactly, but he says something like especially as it pertains to her thinking she's in control of things, or thinking it's her fault for things that are way out of her control.
Something like that, yeah.
And
that was fantastic.
He says, thanks for sharing that, Spock. that whole thing was fun.
All right, so this was this was my favorite thing, where Leland is explaining that the Klingons had time travel capabilities, and they had to beat the Klingons to time travel capabilities because the Klingons would have basically gone back in time and kept humans from walking out of the primordial soup. And he looks at Tyler and goes, "No offense," and Tyler shrugs and goes, "None taken. They would have."
Yeah, that was great.
That was really great. Any more?
That's all mine.
That's all mine.
Cool. Well, any trivia?
Sure. I thought it was interesting, and I don't know why they're doing it this way, but they replaced the actress who played Ariam.
Oh, really?
At the beginning, yeah, I think we've actually talked about it on the show before. But yeah, they replaced the lady who played Ariam in the first season with a different actress, and now that they have killed Ariam, Lieutenant Nielsen, who showed up and took over Ariam's post, that's Sarah Middich, the person who played Ariam in the first season.
Weird. It seems like they want. That's real strange. That seems like they wanted to kill off the character for emotional manipulation reasons, and they just didn't want to lose the actress. They may like the actress, maybe on a personal level, maybe on a professional level. They might have thought, hey, we're underutilizing this wonderful actress. We should bring her in as a human character. But that is really strange.
It is strange. Like, you know what it feels like? It feels like Ariam takes a lot of money to make up every week.
That is fair. That is fair and very possible.
And Discovery is like infamously over budgeted.
Yeah.
Or like they go over budget, I should say, quite often.
Yeah. So they literally just like moved someone that made her a human to take care of the makeup situation. That is funny. Yeah, it's just weird. Like, you'd think if they were going to kill the character off, they'd just kill the character off and we wouldn't see her anymore. But I guess they didn't want to lose the contract with the actress or whatever.
Yeah.
Wow, that's weird. That is real strange.
Right?
All right. Yeah, real strange. What else you got?
So Hanelle M. Culpepper directed this episode, and she is going to be directing the first 2 episodes of the Picard show.
Oh, cool. I thought this was really well directed, actually.
Yeah, it was pretty good, pretty well directed. Yeah,
so I'm down with that. I thought it was particularly well directed. All of my problems stem from the writing of this episode.
I think that's all I have, honestly.
Well, we are the Star Trek Universe podcast, guys. Thanks for hanging out with us today. We'll be back next week with more Discovery talk. I'm about to hop in the car and head to Atlanta. So if you're in the Atlanta area on March 22nd or 23rd, I'm playing at Atlanta Brewing Company and Rue, respectively. So come hang out.
It seems a silly thing to announce on a podcast, but you've literally had people from this audience show up at your shows. So
yeah, man, that was super. that was so much fun. And I've been trying to do that more, especially if we're going to get the podcast up in time for the show, because who knows, people might come out. It's really cool that they did that, and hopefully it will happen more because it's fun to meet people that I just wish. The only thing is about people coming to my shows that I feel kind of bad because in between my sets I can't really talk a whole lot because I got to save my voice. That's the whole reason I take breaks, and so people come out and I'm like, it's so good to see you. I can't talk to you.
That's rough, man.
All right, guys.
He will sign autographs for $30 a pop.
Yeah, that's true. I will do that. That's true.
Yeah. Bring your favorite Marvel or DC comic or paraphernalia, and he will sign it. Or Star Trek, I should say.
I'll sign anything for free.
He will.
For sure. But I'd also...
He will sign your child's dirty diaper.
Oh. I would also do it for $30. All right, guys. Peace.
Live long and prosper.
To reach out to us, hit us up at StarTrekUcast.com, at StarTrekUcast on Twitter, Star Trek Universe Podcast on Instagram and Facebook. Just search for us there, or send us a message at StarTrekUcast@gmail.com. If you'd like to hear more from David C. Robertson, check out the DC On Screen podcast or maladjusted.tv. And if you want to hear more from Matthew Carroll, that's me, check out the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast, or go listen to my music at MatthewCarrollmusic.com or anywhere you get music.